people listening will think, well, no, atheism is just a disbelief in God. Here's a worldview that's being presented to me, and I'm saying I don't believe it. What is, in your view, has formerly one of the most important figures in the New Atheist movement? What can you now see as the gospel of New Atheism? What is that? What is New Atheism's 10 Commandments? What does it look like as a worldview?
I think the reason why it was called New Atheism was that it had this this evangelizing aspect to it. Because yes, you're right. Atheism, or to be an atheist, is simply to take on the attitude of say, I don't think there's any proof. Convince me. If I see evidence of the existence of God, I might change my mind. So that attitude hardened into something along the lines of, there is no proof, there is no evidence, therefore I don't believe in God. And not only that, people who believe in God are wicked, they're dangerous, they're stupid, they're superstitious, and therefore we must evangelize against them. And I think in hindsight, I'm speaking for myself, that was a very unhealthy attitude to take, because you close off so much.
When Ayaan Hirsi says that the new atheism has an evangelizing aspect to it, she's being polite. Sometimes I think that all atheists do is talk about Christianity, is talk about God. In other words, all they do is evangelize. Did you know that atheists even have YouTube shows like The Atheist Experience with Matt Dillahunty? Not to mention characters like Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, Alex O'Connor, who are literally famous for being atheists. Also, you won't believe this, but did you guys know that atheists even have their own churches now?
Today, the Sunday Assembly, or as it's better known, the Atheist Church, is launching 35 new services in cities across the world. There's ones in New Zealand, Hungary, France, the UK, and 16 here in the US. So I'm here at the one in Strongsville, Ohio, just outside Cleveland, and we're going to see what it's all about.
Nature's way of receiving you. It's nature's way of retrieving you. It's nature's way of telling you something's wrong.
What's your background? Were you raised in a religious family? Did you go to church?
I think I was saved twice, so it obviously didn't take.
You were saved twice?
Yeah, recently I've just been debaptized, so I have the actual certificate to show that I've been debaptized.
How do you get debaptized?
Well,
dry you excessively.
The second idea we need to spread is that we have only one life, which means that that life has to be lived to the fullest. There is no second chance, no opportunity to have a do-over. There is no afterlife in which wrongs are righted and cosmic justice meted out to the evildoers.
The Sunday Assembly was started by two British comedians, Sanderson Jones and Pippa Evans. They held the first event in London in January 2013. After that, Jones and Evans found that people were getting in touch, asking if they could set up their own Sunday Assembly. What is
nature's way of receiving you? Nature's way of telling you that something is wrong. Oh my God. The evolution of atheism is a phenomenon that definitely cannot be denied. But as usual, the devil is in the details. Here's why I think attitudes have changed in regards to old atheism and new atheism. Atheism used to be defined as a person who believes that God or gods do not exist. It was an affirmative position. The definition then evolved or was changed into a non-affirmative position. The modern definition of atheism has now changed to a lack of belief in God or disbelief in God or gods due to lack of evidence. This change in definition from affirmative to non-affirmative is what allowed atheism to become the militant movement and religion that it is today. When the definition of atheism held an affirmative position, the burden of proof also fell on the atheist. And since atheists can't prove that God does not exist, it was a self-defeating goal to debate religious people about God's existence. Now that the definition has changed to become non-affirmative, meaning that the burden of proof is solely on the religious person, we can see why atheists are first more willing to debate God's existence with believers. Why? Because they feel that they have the upper hand, and it doesn't matter how convincing and good of an explanation a theist can give for God's existence, they can just shoot it down on the grounds of, well, this doesn't prove that God exists. It's a dishonest position because they are asking theists to prove the existence of a spirit being, of an immaterial being, which is literally impossible to prove. Second, atheism has become a movement and a religion. I already showed you that they even have atheist churches. And yes, this was done by design. And I'm going to be covering atheism in much more depth from now on, so stay tuned. Ayaan then goes on to make a very important point that I alluded to already. How the lack of meaning in life that is brought about by atheism is opening up people to follow leftist liberal ideologies like wokeism and tolerate Islam.
What do you think is the biggest mistake that new atheism made?
For me, it's the statement that all religions are the same. They are not. I grew up as a Muslim. I'm a Christian now. They're completely different. So it was a huge mistake to throw them all in one bucket and make this general statement about all religions being the same.
Anyone who thinks and says that all religions are the same hasn't read any of the religions and doesn't know anything about religion. These are the people that say that Islam is part of the Abrahamic faith. These people are ignorant. Don't listen to them.
Same. Number one. Number two, I think that because of this attitude, religion is, it's superstition, it's untrue, it's unintelligent. I think a false dichotomy was created about, you can either have faith, you can be religious, or you can be a man of reason, but you can't be both. And that, I think, then created even more confusion, especially for young people, looking for role models, looking to answer the question, what's the purpose and meaning of life? Why are we here? How do I relate to my fellow human beings? What's the good life? So those are two major ones. And then three, I think the organizing and then trying to mobilize people to choose atheism with both of these points, that I think then all it did was weaken and degenerate belief in Christianity, and it strengthened other religions. It strengthened Islam because it's consistent with what, for instance, members of the Muslim Brotherhood say about Christianity. They say it's false, it's weak, Muhammad is the last word. And so you listen to the atheists and they say they're saying it themselves. And it also opened, I think, the door for other pseudo-religions. Many of us have been discussing what wokeism is. And in many ways it has, I know it is neo-Marxism or it's cultural Marxism as some call it, but it is with religious zeal that some people believe in it and don't question it. And there is this void, this spiritual need that people have, and they found it in wokeism because wokeism insists on justice and young people seeking to do what is right and what's good and what's just now find it in these either false gods or are in fact converting to Islam, or are feeling quite frustrated with their own legacy. They've been told Christianity is synonymous with, it's the religion of the white man. And the white man, the white heterosexual man, is an exploiter, a slaveholder, a colonizer, is awful. And so you can't be Christian, you have to be something else. And I think that in itself has created a lot of, and I think it's unintended, but anxieties, depressions, confusion. So these are all things that we have to grapple with.
Wow, talking about she hit the nail on the head. Ayaan, Hirsi, you are on the right path. Couldn't have said it better myself. She spoke of how atheist organized evangelical propaganda created a void and opened the door for religions like Islam to gain ground in traditionally Christian countries. And this spiritual void that atheism has created also has opened the door for people to accept pseudo-religions like wokeism. People tend to forget that what they do has consequences, not only physically but also spiritually. The rejection of the existence of God in the West, aka Christianity, which came about via the separation of church and state, the period of enlightenment, aka classical liberalism, and the theory of evolution, led to such a spiritual void in the West that ideologies like feminism, wokeism, and Islam were inevitable, were bound to take root and grow.
Richard Dawkins, for example, thinks that the most evil idea of the New Testament is the idea that everyone is born in sin, the idea that there needs to be a human sacrifice in order to atone us, when God presumably could have just forgiven us anyway, and he sees this as grotesque. And when someone like Richard says, this is evil, this is a bad thing to be teaching children, that they're born in sin, and that they cannot be good without the help of a God who threatens them with eternal punishment if they refuse to love him or even just fail to believe in him. What do you make of those criticisms now?
So I'd say some of the complex layers of that I would leave to people who are much more, I'd say, more immersed theologians who can make the point for them. But again, I go back to this human condition thing, and we have free will. I know that I'm capable of good. I know that I'm capable of evil and bad stuff. And here is a God, at least in the Christian God, as I see it, who says, you are, free to do as you wish. Here are the laws. Here's what it means to be a good person, and you choose what you want to do about that. And if I make terrible choices, I'm forgiven over and over and over again. And I think that recognition that good and evil are in us, and that we have the free will to choose, that's a much more powerful message than if you had human beings who are then, because again, that begs Richard's question, Richard's opposition, then begs the question, are we robots then? I mean, we're now in this era of AI. We could have been designed as just doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And then not being moral beings. And I mean, I think we don't want 7 billion robots. Mm. What would even the point be?
Are human beings born with a sinful nature? Great answer by Ayaan Hirsi, and the humility didn't go unnoticed either when she said, and I'm paraphrasing here, some of the more complex layers of that question, she would leave it to the theologians. I'm going to start off by saying, if human beings are not born with a sinful nature, then why do they steal? Why do they murder? Why do they grape? Why do they lie? Why are they selfish, greedy, etc.? If human beings are not born with original sin, why are we not morally perfect? Why do we choose to do evil? The definition of truth, philosophically speaking, is truth is that which closest corresponds to reality. What does that mean? This means that for something to be true, it has to be identified or seen in reality. I am going to make 2 claims right now, and I want you to tell me which claim closest corresponds to reality. First claim, every human being after the age of 10 has lied and stolen. Second claim, every human being after the age of 10 has not lied and stolen. Which claim would you say is closest to the truth or closest corresponds to reality? I'm going to say, and I bet most of you will agree with me, that it's the first claim. If you disagree, please leave a comment on the comment section. Now, why is that? By the age of 10, 20, 30, 50, 80, children and adults know that stealing and lying is wrong. So why do human beings still do it? Let me put it this way. Why do human beings continue to do wrong knowing that it's wrong? Whether the nature of the sin is greed, lust, jealousy, wrath, gluttony, you name it. It doesn't matter. It can be any of the 7 deadly sins. That's the sinful nature that Christianity is talking about. And every human being is born with this nature. Even the saying, no one is perfect, it recognizes the fact that we have a sinful nature. But Richard Dawkins says that Christianity is evil for telling the truth, for recognizing reality. Now the question we have to ask ourselves is, why would Richard Dawkins, an atheist, say to Christians that we are lying when we are telling the truth? Why would they want people to believe in a lie? I only know of one entity, one being that wants people to believe in lies. And they call him the father of lies, and his name is Satan. And atheists like Richard Dawkins are not the only ones who deny that humans are not born with a sinful nature. Islam also believes that humans are not born with a sinful nature. In fact, I don't think there is a religion or ideology apart from Christianity that teaches this truth, that human beings are born with a sinful nature.
Yeah, well, people are made very uncomfortable with the idea that we don't have agency, that we're not in control in this way. But that was the big criticism that Christopher Hitchens made in the other direction. He said that God is a celestial dictator. God is somebody who is constantly surveilling you and watching you while you sleep and convicting you of thought crime and punishing you for even disobedience in your own mind. Presumably that's not the relationship you feel that you have with God.
He read more of the Quran than the New Testament.
Bang! Beautifully answered. Beautifully answered. Hitchens was a spoiled intellectual child that was far too removed from reality like most atheists are today. And Ayaan Hirsi beautifully destroyed Hitchens' childish gripe with God and religion, that God is some celestial dictator and he's constantly surveilling you and convicting you of thought crime. Ayaan Hirsi's reply was absolutely genius. She said, I think he heard more of the Quran than the New Testament. And I agree. The God of the New Testament, Jesus Christ, interacts with humanity on a personal level. He doesn't just perfectly describe the reality of our sinful nature, he offers us forgiveness over and over and over and over again. He offers us salvation, not because we deserve it, but because he loves us. He joins us in our suffering. He dies on the cross for us. I called Christopher Hitchens childish because he seemed to think that God is wrong for being just, for punishing humans that do wrong. That is a very childish way of thinking, because would any one of you be happy if the judge let the criminal that robbed your house and killed your children go free without punishment? The answer is no, isn't it? Exactly. So how can we expect God to not punish us for sinning, for doing wrong? It's similar to a child saying to a parent, you are not allowed to discipline me. You have to let me do whatever I want. Doesn't make sense, does it? So what's the solution? Atheism is a gateway to Satanism. No one in their right mind can look at the world and not say that a powerful being created everything around us, because humans certainly didn't. Also, there are consequences. Don't think that rejecting God's existence will not have spiritual consequences, because it will. Believe in God and seek him out and he will answer you. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the reaction. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time, all right? Peace.